Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Justin.
I'm Kip.
And this is the Marathon Real Estate channel. Hey, if this is not your first time watching, welcome back. If this is your first time watching, make sure you click that subscribe button. Now, this is a 5-video series of the BRRRR method where we go in depth, step by step on how you get the process done. And right now we're going to talk about the rehab. And this will be our second video. So if you haven't already, make sure you click up there and we'll link you into our first video so you can catch up on how you can actually find really good discounted properties to buy.
Now, why is the rehab so important? So it's really important because you want to be able to attract better quality tenants. And by putting in a lot of work into your property and making this a more high quality place, you're more likely to attract high quality tenants. Now, adding different amenities into your property, new appliances, new flooring, or whatever you decide to do with your property, this will help the appraiser to come in and value your property at a high price.
Now, it's many reasons why the rehab is really important. First off, this is where a lot of investors can either go way wrong or they can go way right. You can lose thousands of dollars, or you can add a lot of value to this property and add thousands of dollars to your profit. A really good reason that you should be doing great quality rehabs on your property before you actually get a tenant in is because the higher quality rehab you do, it means the higher quality tenant you have, meaning the less headaches, of course. So make sure that you're putting in quality materials and you're hiring quality contractors to come in and do this work to your expectations. And we're going to get into all of that stuff a little bit later. Reason number 2, and I guess reason number 3 together is you get better rents. And with better rents equals a higher appraisal. Now, the better your property looks, the better appliances you have, stainless steel, newer appliances, the type of flooring, all of this stuff adds up when you get this appraisal. Now, the reason the appraisal is so important is because once you get to the refinance part, that's where you want to be able to pull out as much money as possible on a cash out refinance, which we'll jump into in a later video during this series. I think it's pretty obvious that we want the most rent, right? So the higher quality rehab you do means not only the higher quality tenant, but also you're able to get a higher return on your money every month.
Now, when you're rehabbing your property, you want to make sure that you don't overdo your rehab. Look at the area and see what other people have been doing in the area and make sure that you stay within that range.
Yeah, it's no point of reinventing the wheel. If you see a property up for sale and it's got great renovations in it, try to match that. If you have the same or similar layout, try to match it. If people are doing laminate countertops, does it really add extra rent if you do granite? It really depends. So make sure you look into that and really weigh out the pros and the cons. Always ask yourself, is this going to increase the value of this property? Is it going to increase the rent of this property? Lastly, a reason that you want to do a rehab before you rent out a property is so that you can add in bulletproof material. You do need to add in durable, high quality materials that are going to last long after tenant, after tenant, and after tenant. Hopefully you don't have much turnover, but let's say if you do, you definitely don't want to have to go in and replace the flooring every time or have to repaint the walls and replace the countertops. You want to make sure things are durable. With luxury vinyl plank, it's the flooring. Make sure you get a durable paint, and also make sure you get a countertop that's actually durable. It's not going to be scratched up. It's going to be stain resistant, things of that nature. Make sure that you don't have to replace everything every time you have turnover.
All right, now we're into the order of a rehab. First is to demo. Just clear out what you don't want and get rid of it.
Now, this can add some expenses, so make sure you calculate that in your rehab budget. It's not super cheap to get a dumpster out there. If you're going to be clearing it out yourself, make sure you calculate for your time. But if you're hiring a crew, usually demos, depending on what you're doing, can be a little bit expensive. So make sure you talk to contractors and you consider this when you're writing out your rehab budget.
Second is your roofing and siding work. So make sure that the roof isn't leaking so that way all your things won't get ruined. And if there's any siding work that you need to take care of, you should do that now. Third is your roughing work. So the roughing work includes electrical and plumbing. So make sure you hire somebody who's really good and licensed and insured to take care of this for you so you don't have any problems going later. Fourth is ordering your appliances, your cabinets, and your windows. Now, these things can take up to 7 to 8 weeks and they can be on back order. So make sure that you place an order in advance just to make sure you have it on time. Fifth is to finish your drywall, your ceiling, and your tile. So if there's any holes in the house, make sure you patch up all of that and make the house whole again. Sixth, now that you've already patched up the wall and sand everything down, next is to paint.
Make sure when you're choosing your paint that you get something that's durable. Make sure it's washable. Usually I like to go with satin with the neutral gray tone color paint.
7 is finish your plumbing, your electrical, install your vanities, and install your cabinets. This is where the house starts to look good again because you're starting to see things come together and it's less stressful now. Number 8 is to install your flooring. Now you have everything up, your paint's on the wall. When you're picking out your flooring, make sure you pick something that's durable, something that's scratch resistant and waterproof. If you're on the second floor, make sure you get some sound barrier so you don't have any headaches in the future.
Pro tip is some flooring actually includes a pad on the bottom. This usually will suffice if you have a property that's on the second floor, like a condo, or maybe you have a duplex that's top and bottom. You want to make sure that you kind of absorb some of that sound so you don't get headaches later down the road with complaints of noise.
Number 9 is cleanup. Get the property show ready.
All right, so now that we've gone over the order of how you should be doing your rehab, of course, just as a side note, there's probably going to be things that we didn't touch up on that your property needs. Just make sure you think about it, maybe talk to your contractor and go over the game plan together. Speaking of contractors, let's get into how you should be working with contractors, where to find them, and should you be doing your own work. So first off, I think I need to address the question that we've been getting is, should I be the GC or general contractor of my first property, or should I hire a general contractor, which usually charges a little bit more than you hiring out separate subcontractors who do their specific jobs? My answer to you is, if this is your first couple of projects, you want to make sure that you're the one solely managing the rehab of a property, and simply for one reason and one reason only. You need that experience. You need the experience to learn how to manage people. You need the experience to actually learn certain things that these subcontractors will be able to teach you as you go in and check on them. I recommend checking day by day, making sure that the job's getting done correctly. But you learn a lot, you get a lot of experience, and even though it may be a little bit more time consuming, it's well worth it in the long run. So where do you find these contractors, you may be asking? Well, my first option to you would be look for referrals. If you're going to a local real estate meetup, maybe you have investors in your area that you know, see what they're doing, who they're using. If they're willing to give you a referral to a certain company or a certain contractor, make sure you use those. Make sure you actually stop by maybe one of their work sites. That'll be great to be able to see how they actually take care of a work site. Is there beer cans laying around? You definitely don't want that. Is the property neat while they're doing their work, or is it just sloppy? Is the work actually good? You know, check these things out. If you don't have anyone who's doing real estate in your area with no referrals, my second option to you would be to maybe go to Lowe's or Home Depot early in the morning. The reason I say early is because usually people who are busy need to get work started early. So go out there, park in the pro contractors area. Usually Lowe's and Home Depot both have these sections in their parking lot. And I would just sit out there with a clipboard or with my phone ready to take down contacts, whether that's taking pictures of the side of their truck if they have details and their phone number, or if you just want to approach these people and explain the situation. Hey, I have a project coming up. I'm buying properties on the regular now, speak it into existence because you will be. And hey, I need a really good contractor, somebody who I can count on, somebody who's going to give me quality work and be prompt on the deadlines. Get their contact information. Ask them if you can go see one of their work sites. Hey, you're heading to a job right now. Is it okay if I follow you and maybe see the kind of work that you're doing now? That'll be great. This way you get to build a little bit of a relationship, see how they work again, and get some contacts. Oh, I almost forgot. If you want us to create a Facebook real estate group, then comment below.
Great. Now that you found your contractors, it's time to get your bids in. I would recommend getting at least 3 bids or more to make sure that you find somebody who's within your price range. And these bids should be itemized so you know exactly what they're charging you for. You should be open to paying contractors for coming out to your job site and give you an itemized bid, because nobody likes their time wasted.
Warning, don't have all of these contractors come out at the same time. It's overwhelming for you, and it also gives the perspective that you're only looking for the cheapest contractor to give you the lowest bid, and usually that comes with the lowest quality of work. So make sure you spread out these contractors, maybe give them a 30-minute gap in between, so that way you can pick their brain, get their good ideas, what their recommendations are, give them enough time to ask you enough questions and look at the property before you have the next contractor come in. This ensures that you get an honest bid and they don't just bid low, and then once you actually go with them, then they say, we ran into a couple of things, we need to raise the price. So it's important that you do this, and you don't want people to feel like there's a lack of commitment from your end, especially if you're looking for a long-term relationship.
That's a great point. Another thing is, when talking to contractors and getting their bids, make sure you communicate with your contractor that you want the labor and the materials to be separate when they're giving you a bid.
This is usually because materials cost twice as much when a contractor has to go and pick it up. So make sure you do the materials and just have your contractor go pick it up, especially if you don't have a pickup truck. We've gone through that and it's a headache. Alrighty, so we've gone through a lot so far, and now it's at the point where we need to put this stuff in writing. So let's talk about a contractor agreement. Like I said before, it's right below. Make sure you click it, download it, and use it. So what a contractor agreement is basically specifying exactly what your expectations are, the deadline, how much they're getting paid, when they're getting paid, and what the actual draw schedule is, meaning 25% once X, Y, and Z is done, and then you get 50% once ABC is done, things like that. So it's important that you add that into your contract. That way there is no room for misinterpretation. Okay, let me explain a little bit better what a draw system is. So your lender is usually, especially if you're going through a hard money lender like most of us do, they're going to require that you're on a draw system, meaning that they don't give you the full rehab budget all up front and it just goes into your bank account. No, it's more of a reimbursement system. So once you pay for the materials and your contractor installs it, you pay that contractor, they sign a lien waiver, and then once you do that, you get the lender to send out one of their inspectors. Hopefully, if your lender's great, they should be able to come out either the same day or the following day. That way you pay your contractor really quickly, and that's important. But anyway, they come out, give you a stamp of approval, and then your lender will wire you the funds to be reimbursed for that money that you spend. Now, if you have a really good relationship with your contractor, usually they don't have a problem with signing the lien waiver, and then you pay them once you get reimbursed for that money. Also, on the contractor agreement, you need to make sure that they're providing you proof of their license and also proof of their insurance. On their insurance, you need to make sure that you're added as additionally insured, meaning if you go on your property or if something happens on your property, their insurance will also help you out as well. Along with the contractor agreement, another important piece of paper that you're going to need from the contractor is a W-9 form. This will allow you to write off the expenses that it took to rehab this property, as well as just keep Uncle Sam happy, because you definitely don't want to run into a big pile of mess once tax season comes around.
Pro tip, make sure you provide the layouts of your project at the property, because contractors are not tape recorders, so sometimes they can miss things out. But by leaving a layout or a blueprint at the property, making sure that everybody's on the same page and nothing gets left out.
Let's quickly touch up on paying contractors and exactly how you do that. So first off, I think it's important that we say never pay a contractor 100% upfront. That's never going to work out good for you. Most contractors, not to say that all contractors are dishonest and crooks, some are though. They only look for the short-term relationship, and so that means if you pay them all up front, they probably won't show up the next day. So don't do that.
Bounce.
Usually what we like to do when starting a contractor off is provide the materials. So we'll go pay for the materials and have the contractor pick it up. Or what we'll do is pay up to 25% to get the contractor started, because like I said before, Contractors don't want to feel like they're not committed to, people want to feel like, they have a relationship with you. You commit to them and they commit their time to you. Also, throughout the rehab process, before you pay them anything, you need to be making sure that you stop by the property and double check their work. You need to make sure that that punch list is satisfied and is to your satisfaction.
Bruh.
What is that?
No.
Satisfaction.
And make sure that you're satisfied.
Okay. And make sure it's to your standards. Again, it's important. Once you pay your contractor, or during the time that you're paying your contractor, make sure they sign off on the lien waiver. You don't want any clouds on the title later down the line once you go to sell it. And also, usually the lender will require it. Now, depending on what state you're in, some states require that you get this lien waiver notarized and some don't. Make sure you don't let your lender bully you into getting everything notarized, especially if it's not. And I think bully is the wrong word, but sometimes they're just a little uptight, so make sure, if you don't need to get these documents notarized like we did it in the state of Georgia, then make sure you let them know, because that could be a huge waste of time if you're going to the courthouse or getting it notarized every single time. That's adding extra work to your plate, and I'm sure you're already busy still working on the last video, which is buying your next property, looking for discounted property. So
now, just doing a little bit of research if your state needs the notary or not can save you a lot of time. All right, so if you haven't yet, make sure you like this video and subscribe. We're going to the just right phase of rehab. Now, when rehabbing your property, you don't want to overdo or underdo. You want to be just right.
Kip, I think you mentioned this earlier. I think it's important that you go into your competition. Go online, look at apartments.com, Zillow. If you're a realtor, look at the MLS, see what's listed. Look at the quality of properties, not for sale, of course, but look at the properties that are up for rent and see what other people are doing. I think it's important to see the kind of finishes people put in, and that way you also get a good feel of how long it takes to rent out in this area. You know exactly what people are charging with similar properties. Pro tip, you can make your property look 10 times better with professional photos. These photos you can use every time that you turn the property over, meaning that once the tenant leaves, you can use these photos again and market to the next tenant. You never need to go and redo it, and it's something that gets your property rented out probably twice as fast as what it would if you took it with your regular phone. Now, during your just right rehab, you want to make sure that you get this property appraised at your expected ARV. So in the beginning, you've done your numbers, you know exactly what you can do, what kind of numbers you're looking at once this property is fully renovated. Make sure you keep that in mind during your rehab, because it's easy to cheap out on things, and it's also easy to overpay and get super high quality things that doesn't really compare with other properties. And sometimes appraisers can look at that and it just doesn't appraise as much as you think it would. So make sure you keep that in mind. That ARV is very important for your refinance. A golden rule is to make sure that you're getting at least a 15% return on your rehab budget. So if you're spending $15,000, let's say $10,000 for easy math. If you're spending $10,000 on your rehab, you need to get 15% back on your return. So that should be increasing your rents. We can't touch on this enough, guys. Make sure you bulletproof your property. Don't cheap out on your materials. Instead of going with laminate, get a waterproof, scratch resistant floor. Get good materials so that it lasts you longer. Is it really cheaper to put down carpet if every time you have turnover, you have to replace it? Think about that. Some other tips that you can do to your property and make sure it's bulletproof is on your refrigerator, make sure that it's not a water dispenser or an ice maker. Usually those can cause problems with your tenants. Also, make sure in your sink and faucet, you don't have a separate nozzle for the sprayer. Instead, they have the faucets that have the pull-out faucet that we've never had troubles with. Along with that, don't get used appliances. Pay a little bit more, get newer appliances so that you don't have issues with that later down the line, especially with leaks. That can cause a lot of issues. Lastly, make sure that you're doing basic landscaping. You don't need an extravagant waterfall in the backyard or anything like that. In fact, you just need to put down either hay or some type of mulch, or even the white marble rocks And just make sure you get your bushes, if you have any trim, make sure that they're not touching on the siding of your property, and you should be good to go. Nothing extra there.
Okay, so with yard maintenance, you definitely don't want to rely on the tenants to take care of your yard, because I'm sure they probably won't. And you don't want to drive by your property and the grass is 10 feet tall. So you take care of it and just charge your tenant a maintenance fee every month on top of the rent.
During your rehab, you want to make sure that your asset is protected. I recommend getting a Simply Safe system that's a DIY type of install, just to make sure you know exactly who's coming in or out. If you're not really interested in getting a Simply Safe, then just get a regular lockbox and only share that code with your contractor. Make sure your property is adequately insured. I'm not going to give you any tips on insurance. I'm sure you have a local insurance agent. Talk to them about what kind of insurance you need while the property's vacant and you have your materials in there. But overall, guys, make sure your asset is protected. What do you know? I think we're at the end of this video. What do you think? Any other tips?
Yeah, one last tip is if your property is in a winter, like winterizing your property.
Oh yeah, winterizing. So if you're in the north, if you get snowstorms or anytime your property's below 30, your property's vacant, make sure you have your contractors drip the faucets, make sure the water is running, or just completely have the water shut off and empty out those pipes so that your pipes don't burst. Because we've actually seen horror stories of a renovation being complete. The agent went to go show the property and the ceiling was caving in because there was so much water from the busted pipe. So anyway, not to end on a bad note, but guys, it's been wonderful. I'm glad that we could share these tips with you. If you haven't, again, subscribe, like, and let us know if you would like us to create a Facebook group so that all of us like-minded people can join and just bounce tips off of each other, bounce ideas, and share some good deals.
Oh, and don't forget, we have a contractor agreement down below that you can download. So make sure you get that done and make it resourceful for yourself.
All right, we'll see you next time on our, what are we on? Rent. We're going to be talking about rent next. So we've probably already done the video. Click this above and you'll go straight to that one. All right, we'll see you later. I'm Justin.
I'm Kip.
And this is the Marathon Real Estate Channel. Peace.